think for me, motivation is twofold. One, I never want to be poor again in my life. And also, I think I'm one of those people who's fortunate enough to work in spaces that I actually get to create and I get to enjoy. So for me, most of the stuff I do is passion driven.
When somebody has come really, really sick and they might die, but you put into place the right things, you put them on the right medicine, and then you see them getting better, you see them out of that deep, deep darkness or that deep, deep abyss that they were in. Man, that's why I do what I love.
So for me, every single interaction I have in a day, it goes to how's it gonna better me? How's it gonna better me as a person? So for me, that's basically how I break the average.
Every show is different, so there's no monotony, which is normally the worry. So that's a good thing. So no 2 days are the same. When you wake up at 4:30, typical does not feature in your vocabulary, but the good thing is every show is different, so there's no monotony, which is normally the worry. So that's a good thing. So no 2 days are the same.
Hey, listen. Attention, attention. Thank you so much for your company. Thank you for a great Feel Good Friday. Oh my God, have a great weekend and be good to yourself. Hey, still as a Wilo Longomba.
It starts off with a very early morning. Early morning, I go to where I do my residency, my pediatric residency. That's the Kenyatta National Hospital, part of the University of Nairobi. So that's where it starts. And well, that depends. It can either be an early morning from a very, very long night shift somewhere else where we go and hustle and grind, because residency in Kenya doesn't pay. So we don't get paid as residents. So you have to go look for money somewhere else. So sometimes it can start off with a night shift the day before until 7 a.m. and then you go to Kenyatta. But usually it's an early morning in Kenyatta. I go do my rounds. I see my patients. I speak to my consultants. Yeah, and then from there we have to grind. Remember I told you residency doesn't pay. So we come to grind. And one of the places I come to grind, I come and see my pediatric patients. I come see my well babies is right here at Mirazi.
Well, I think a typical workday for me involves, first of all, I have a constant routine in terms of waking up. So I wake up at like 5:30. I go to the gym, I come back, read the newspaper, New York Times, just get updated on what's happening in Kenya and all over the world. And then after that, I'll check on stocks, check on purchases, marketing for the day in terms of what goes out and everything like that. So I'm constantly on top of that. Throughout the day, I'll have numerous meetings that will end, I think, around 5 p.m. 5 p.m. is my downtime. So that's when I will have not so serious meetings. So in the morning, I'd have the serious meeting, and then as the day progresses, the enormity or the seriousness of the meetings goes down and down.
So, I mean, I don't really have like typical days per se, but usually the only thing that's fixed in my day is I have to come to work like everybody else. Monday to Friday, you can find me here from 6 to 10, it's Homeboys Radio, 103.5 Homeboys Radio, from 6-ish till 10, to be perfectly honest. And that's my typical day. After the days, usually I have a few meetings, or I go and do some admin stuff, because I'm a bit of a planner. So I like to just sit down for a couple of hours after this job to plan the rest of the day. And actually, I have another job as well that I do in the UK as well. So I dedicate 2 or 3 hours a day to that as well.
You're in the mix with G Money on 135 Homeboys Radio. Do it! Turn it up!
We filmed the podcast on Wednesdays, and so we do that in the afternoon, around about 4 o'clock. So usually on a Wednesday, it's from here. Maybe I go to my office, or I go to an art cafe or a Java or any other coffee house, and just open my laptop and just work for a couple of hours. And then in the afternoon, we go and film the podcast with Calvin, Neville, and Andy. And it never stops. Job number 3 or 4, I don't know today. Of course, you can see we're on set now. This is the famous set for the Mics Are Open podcast with myself, Calvin, Andy, Ashley, and Neville today. So from the studio to the house, now back to the other house, recording the podcast, and that's how we stay regal, that's how we break the average. We're always on the grind. Like I said, the enemy is poverty, so we're working hard. Stay regal, man.
My listeners, that's it. And the people who advertise on my show, and that's enough motivation. If that doesn't motivate you, then you can't be here.
The feeling that you get when you have either, when it's really, really a good feeling is when you actually save life, but it's the passion. Like, I'd honestly tell anybody who's trying to get into the medical field, it's really not about the money, because the money isn't that good. So what drives us really is the passion.
Building a relationship with customers, being here, and for me, they've even moved from a point where they're customers and they're more like family.
I think for me, motivation is twofold. One, I never want to be poor again in my life. And also, I think I'm one of those people who's fortunate enough to work in spaces that I actually get to create and I get to enjoy. So for me, most of the stuff I do is passion driven. And passion driven means that if you follow your passion, you're 100% authentic, you're 100% real, and definitely you're gonna perform above average because you're doing what you love.
Oh man, what I love about my job is the kids, because I'm a, pediatric resident. I deal with pediatrics, I deal with children every day. So my joy is when I can make kids better. It's an absolutely amazing feeling. I would put it next to being an artist as well. Is like when you get on stage and people know your song and people are vibing or you're performing and you get that response from the audience. It's the same thing when you're a doctor and you do a good job.
The constant change, and in any industry, you gotta be on top of the trends, insights and things like that. So even with the bar industry, like what's happening, what music are people listening to, what's the trends in terms of decor globally, and how do you bring that into a local scene? Bar next door is accumulation of all these things that are happening globally and all these things that are trending now, brought into an outdoor space.
What I love most about my job is my co-host. He's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. He's actually sitting just over there. But no, what I like most about my job is the fact that we get to have the most random conversations every single morning. No two mornings are alike. And we're sort of like the bad guys of the station. So we spend most of our lives avoiding lawsuits. Most of our lives avoiding lawsuits and having fun and pissing off the management. So for me, the best part of the job is the fact that no 2 days are the same.
For me, breaking the average day to day is constantly when you think that you can be complacent. And for me, being complacent is just chilling and doing nothing. You can network, and networking can be in a bar where you build networks, you change ideas, and that can happen in a bar. For me, when you're not doing anything to better yourself, I feel like for me that's being complacent. So for me, every single minute of my day, I'm always thinking like, what am I getting from this interaction? What am I getting from this relation? What am I getting from this conversation? Like parking attendants to mechanics to supermarket attendants, these people have information that would be able to make you make a decision. So for example, interaction with cashiers, you can get information like how many of these products do you move in your counter for every 30 minutes or every day. And those are information you can use to base in starting a new business, maybe getting an opportunity here and there. So for me, every single interaction I have in a day, it goes to how's it gonna better me? How's it gonna better me as a person?
When somebody has come really, really sick and they might die, but you put into place the right things, you put them on the right medicine, and then you see them getting better. You see them out of that deep, deep darkness or that deep, deep abyss that they were in. Man, that's why I do what I love, man. There's nothing, there's no money in the world that can replace that feeling.
I think that I break the average day to day by just being consistent and striving to be consistently good at what I do. So I never sit on my laurels. I never think that I'm the guy who's done this 100,000 times, so I don't need to practice for it. So I think for me, breaking the average means being consistent. And as Jay-Z said, end of the day, anyone can do it once or twice, but to do it consistently over years and years and years is how I think you break the average and end up being a legend like Charlie.